Hey, everybody. Well, we're excited to be back. Welcome to episode 8 of Finding Our Tribe Presents Jedi in the Classroom with Jamie Halsey, Fabian Hofmann, and I am Scott Kazarian. We're really excited to jump back in. We're going to complete our conversation on side quests because Fabian felt very left out from our last podcast. And we're going to talk about Easter eggs, kind of how to get students into the game if they didn't start right away and want to jump in. But first, we are going to start with another show and tell. Can I go first?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I have a 3D printer in my classroom. One of the cards
really you never mentioned.
I know, weird.
What? Huh.
And one of the cards you can purchase in my game when you earn enough credits is a 3D print. And so one of my students came up to me who earned it, and we only have one more week of school left at the point of this recording. And he said, "Can I print a dark saber?" And I was like, What do you mean a dark saber? Because he didn't strike me as a Star Wars kid. He goes, like from Star Wars, like a dark saber. I said, yeah, you got to find the link and then just send it to me. And he did. And this is it.
Ooh.
And it turned out
this looks really good.
Like if you just look at the way it got printed, and what's really fun about it, I glued these two pieces together, but it's multiple pieces that you can like disassemble and reassemble if you want.
So that's awesome.
I know there's a bottom piece I'm missing. It's somewhere, I don't know where it is, but there's a bottom piece that goes in here too. But oh man, this thing turned out really good. I was thinking, do I have to give it to him?
No,
or can I just keep it? So worked really hard on the file and very excited to kind of put it up in my classroom once I've already given it to him and then made myself one.
That's cool. Awesome. They just released the dark saber as a legacy lightsaber in Disneyland or Galaxy's Edge. So you can buy it just like the others, like Luke Skywalker's lightsaber and stuff. You can actually buy a dark saber. It's awesome. I
have to admit, I didn't know the design of a dark saber until I had to 3D print one, but man, it's really fun. My own kids at home are like, "Dad, come on, just keep it." I'm like, "No, my student ordered it."
You also can print it again.
I know. I said after school, one more week, and then we'll have the 3D printer. You can print whatever you want. Just leave me alone.
That's awesome.
So anyway, that's my show and tell, the dark saber. Come on, Star Wars fans out there.
Yeah. You just earned your Star Wars cred.
Thank you. I don't contribute much, but again, sarcasm and now a dark saber.
So. Yeah.
Okay, who's next?
I'll go next because last time Jamie went first. Okay.
I was keeping track.
Yeah. So let me show you this again. Boom. So I have a little R2 unit that maybe you saw last time in the background. He's currently hooked up so that when you touch him, he makes noises, but it's a Sphero R2D2 that you might find still on Amazon, and it's cool because you can drive him around and you can you can let him drive around on his own, and he explores your classroom, for example. And he makes noises because there's a speaker inside the R2 unit, and he is just a joy to play with. And as I mentioned last time, I included him in an assignment. So he is like all over the place. Every time in my classroom, when I pull him out, he's there, and he's my little buddy.
So cool. Yeah. Does he have like an ability to, I think you kind of said like auto move, where he just kind of cruises?
Yeah, he can. So there's an explore function where he just roams around the classroom and explores, and you get like a bunch of stats in the app. And it shows you like how hot he is at this point in time, and how many like meters he already drove around, and it's just fun. It's like a little buddy.
You have like a little pet in your classroom.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's my show and tell this time.
All right, Jamie, what do you got?
Okay, there's this book that we keep mentioning in the podcast, so I thought I would show it. This is one that Scott should read.
It seems familiar for some reason.
It's called Explore Like a Pirate by Michael Matera.
Yeah,
pretty big
This
book.
is the Bible of gamification.
Yeah.
And then the companion piece by John Meehan, Adrenaline Rush, are like the twin powers of gamification. So I highly recommend both of these books. And these guys are unbelievably creative, and sign up on EMC2 because
I'm curious, what sort of commission do you get from this moment right here in our podcast?
Just the guru being really happy. So
that's all we do.
We get happiness.
Our gurus.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got ripped off on that one.
But they're also just so generous with their time and with everything they share, and they're just Mr. Matera has foster this community, XP Lab, which comes from the title of the book, Mr. Kazarian.
Yeah, XPlap. I got it.
XPlap, yeah. Explore like a pirate. And it's just this, it's created this enormously joyous community. And he cannot get enough praise, in my opinion. So
yeah, I'm a beneficiary for sure.
You are. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, let's jump in. Fabian, you were telling us in between podcasts that you were so sad that you had been left out and you didn't feel like you were really part of the team anymore, which was kind of what we were going for. But
there was one single tear running down. You could see it. It glistened.
So last time on the podcast, if you remember, Tribe, we were talking about side quests. Jamie talked about her side quest, the reading challenge and the choose your own adventure. And now Fabian's going to share. And then we're going to talk about how to like engage students that maybe didn't start out right away with the game, but then want to. So let's start with Fabian because he needs to be heard. Go ahead.
I need to be heard. Absolutely. Yeah. So side quests. So my side quests, I wanted to give just a few examples of side quests so that our listeners could maybe get some inspiration from that. I think the ones that Jamie mentioned are awesome, and I'm going to steal at least one of them. But the ones that I have and that I use, so just in general, my side quests are always worth way more than the assignments in class, Scott. And
sounds like that for Jamie too, both of you.
Yeah. And so I try to give my students an opportunity to do things that they could not necessarily do in my classroom. So if they are really good artists, I might not have an assignment for them where they could show off their drawing skills or their Lego building skills or whatever. So I try to include those in my side quests. And the very first side quest that I always put in there is create your own avatar, which they can either go on the internet and find like an avatar creator, or I use the Funko Pop thing that Quinn Rowlands put out in his book Play Like a Pirate, and I'll put the link in the show notes. And it's essentially just an empty PDF of like the shape of a Funko Pop, and then the students can just draw in it, and they can create like their own backstory for their avatar and who they are in the game, and then they could upload that as an avatar in the game.
I used that last year because you had that, and it was fantastic.
It's awesome. And they when they turn it in, I put them up in the classroom, which kind of motivates the other kids to be like, oh, what is this? And can I do that too? And there's some really good ones. I still have some pictures of those.
They even created like a backstory to their character.
Exactly.
Stuff, right? Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
You know what? A suggestion too, I also use that as actually it's an assignment at the beginning of the year. After they played the game for a while and have gotten into it and have learned more about the game, it's fun to redo that one because they'll add more details based on like what their character is.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's awesome. Good. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. And then, so I have that one. Then another one I like to use is like have them build a Lego model, for example, tied to what we're doing in our content that we're talking about. So I always try to keep the side quests linked to the content that we have, except for like one or two that are just general for the game. But so Legos, then another one, they could do like an animation. They could make like a stop motion film. One that I found that I hope somebody is going to do is to create blackout poetry. I really love blackout poetry. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's essentially students take a page from a book. They choose a few words from there, and they make a little box around the word, and that creates like a poem, and then the rest is all blacked out. That's why it's called blackout poetry. And there's some really, really creative ones out there. So if you Google blackout poetry, you'll get a really great selection. And so I'm still hoping, I put that up in my reissue of my app, hoping that somebody will turn that in.
How many more weeks of school do they have? How much time do they have?
We have about 4 more weeks.
All right, 4 weeks. Yeah. You're here to hear students. If you're listening, they're probably not, but
probably not. Yeah. And then another one I like to do is a Time magazine cover, or just a magazine cover, in which they show like what a historical figure could be the person of the year, for example, and they could draw that, and it should look like a Time magazine cover. And the more accurate it is, the more points they get. So there's
like if Caesar's on the cover, like if Julius Caesar or something.
Yeah, man of the year, for example, person of the year, right? Yeah. And then another one is movie posters. So if they want to, I had a few that created movie posters this year. about the fall of Rome. They create a movie, and it's really cool. They're having so much fun with it, and they're spending a lot of time outside of the content that we're talking about, that we're specifically dealing with, and just pump a lot of time in that they could play video games, but they decide to play our game instead, or my game instead, which is fun.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're in the game. We've got side quests, we got assignments, and students may have started from the beginning and are super pumped, and those are we love that. But then we have these students that aren't super involved yet, and they start to see the benefits of earning cards and earning XP and using credits. And so we want to talk a little bit about just like, how do we get them, how do they enter the game? How do you design a game that maybe lets them enter? So what does your game look like that allows students even somewhere in the middle of the game to kind of enter the game and still be a part of it?
Yeah. So I think the gamification allows these multiple entry points into the game. So some kids are very competitive. So they really like the idea of the leaderboard and moving up on the leaderboard and being number one with XP. Other kids really like collecting things. So in my class, they can collect cards, groups of cards, kyber crystals, things like that. So collecting things sometimes appeal to students. Mm-hmm. And other kids really enjoy the side quests and kind of bringing in their artistic flair. And so there's multiple ways that kids can get involved with the game. Yeah. And so I think having a lot of choice really helps.
And I think a good way of figuring out who of your kids goes in which direction is using the Bartle test at the beginning of the year, which is essentially like a psychology test where it's like, what's your player psychology like? Like, what do you like to do when you play a game, like a massive whatever online role-playing game, MMORPG? And yeah, cool. And it kind of like, it helps you and the student to kind of realize like, what kind of a player am I, so that later on when you notice like, hey, so-and-so did not try that game at all, and so you can look at it and be like, so I'm sure there's like more of you who have not done anything like this, and then offering these kinds of challenges like Jamie just said, like the collectors or the explorers or whatever, to have like punch cards for reading, for example, that appeals like to the collector, right? Because they want to get like the whole punch card, maybe. Yeah. Or
especially if the punch is like a star or something fun, like a whale. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I just want another whale punch.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can use that for that, and also to balance out your group so that you have one of each player type. That's what I tried to do this year, which didn't help much because they don't really show up to class, but that's another story. But next year I'm going to try that again and kind of see like what it would feel like in the classroom when I make sure that they are together in those groups. So
as a novice, let me ask like a clarifying question then. Yeah. So you've got students, and Jamie, I love the idea of like multiple ways to enjoy the game, but in the end there can only be one winner. So really, if you join the game, let's just say third quarter starts and you're like, oh, I can start the game now and still play, the odds of winning are probably pretty slim at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the goal is not, so for the students in your classes, would you say, at least Jamie at this point, maybe Fabian, you can speak to this too, is the goal of the game then to enjoy the game as opposed to necessarily winning it? Some students might want to win it, but it's really just about enjoying the game.
Some kids don't care about being at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
They get status in other ways, like having those rare cards that they can only earn by doing this particular side quest,
or winning a mini game, right? Like I have this card that automatically lets a team win and be in first place, and I had this experience. I don't know if you were in this class, Scott, where one of the students like waited literally until the end of the game that we played, and then another team won and he pulled it out and he's like, can I play this now? And he played it, and the reaction was priceless. Stuff like that, they live for that. And he was not anywhere near the top, but that is like, he was waiting for that moment, and I was like egging him on. I was like, please make sure you play that card. Please make sure you play that card.
The zinger was his thing. He wanted to be like, boom.
Yeah, exactly. And and so what you're saying, Jamie, I agree with, is like they have different, it doesn't always have to be, it don't have to win, but you have moments that they enjoy, and that is what makes this so much fun.
Well, that's awesome, guys. I think I just learned a lot. I hope you guys at Tribe did as well. So let's talk Easter eggs. I have nothing to say on the subject, so let's learn a little bit from Easter eggs. Go ahead. Fabian, why don't you start this one?
Okay.
We've had Jamie start a couple, and hopefully you won't go too long. We'll see.
So,
I'll use my dark saber on you.
Just,
is that how you hold the dark saber?
I try to keep it
long-winded. Yes, we know.
Exactly. So that's what he just said. Wow. So Easter eggs are amazing. I love Easter eggs. And for those of you who don't know what Easter eggs are, just a quick explanation. Whenever you play video games, there are certain hidden things that you can find that are not necessarily parts of the game, but they give you, like, it's called an Easter egg because you can find it because they're in obscure places in the game, and it may be a picture of a team that made the video game, or it could be extra points for something, or it's just something hidden that not everybody sees. And some people go really and try to find everything. There's a whole book written about this, Ready Player One, which deals with the hunt for Easter eggs in this dystopian future. And so the way I do it is I usually use QR codes that I hide either like on my website or hide it around school. I've placed them in different teachers' classrooms. This year I had a QR code posted on my colleagues' classrooms. They had like their slides, and they had a background, and there was a QR code, and it just led them to like a short little quiz about Star Wars, and if they answer all the questions correctly, they get extra points. Or it unlocks a side quest, which I've also done, so that only those people who find this QR code and solve the Easter egg get to go on this side mission, and they get like a special card and super many points or whatever.
So like out of 5,000 students that you have, how many actually?
I have 900, and they're
like 3.
There's like 3 to 5 usually find
super
them.
Small amount, right?
Sometimes it's very obvious, and some of them try it, but they can't answer all the questions. This is usually in the beginning. I try to be very obvious and make it so that they're like, ooh, Easter egg is a thing. And so I make it like really visible in my classroom, or I put it like outside of my classroom at the door, and if they're allowed to use phones, they can scan it. And sometimes they're really hard to find. Sometimes it's like, I did this year, which nobody found that one. I hid it on a website, and it was in white on a white background. And so they would have to like move their mouse over, and it changes the hand. Yeah. And then I would have sent them to like a video or whatever. And
nobody found the white on the white background. Get out of town.
No, but sometimes they do. You don't necessarily hope that everybody finds it. Right. It's just this little game that you're playing with them that is underneath everything, and that's the fun of it.
It's very much the little pi sign at the bottom of Neo's computer, right?
Yes.
Matrix.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. What about you, James? Let's talk about side quests.
Easter eggs?
I'm sorry, Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Easter eggs.
Okay. Yeah. So I love Easter eggs too. They're like my favorite thing ever. So I have little clickable areas that may be like a white on white thing that maybe I'll hide in there. Like I have a schedule with all their homework for the week, so I might hide it in there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it kind of looks like an Easter egg, but I make it kind of transparent, so it kind of like you can barely see the outline of it. Or I'll hide it in side quest directions. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes it's really obvious, like I'll put it in the stream at the end, like posted underneath an announcement in Google Classroom from like way long ago. So there's things hidden everywhere. Yeah. And then recently, now that I have all my kids in my class, for like 3 months, I actually had a little picture of a golden egg, like tacked to the wall in a very obvious place, and no one said anything. And then finally someone's like, they're like, I see this like egg. And I'm like, why don't you get it? And they're like, okay. So then they go and they bring it to me. I'm like, you found an Easter egg. Here's 500 XP. And they're like, what? And then I really have them. So the one that finds it, then they hide it.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
They can't tell anybody that they've hidden it. And then it perpetuates itself. Then it keeps going.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Now,
yeah.
On that one Easter egg, it's now been hidden 3 times.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So that's a fun one. And then sometimes I'll have other challenges, like one Easter egg, when they find it, if no one else finds it, they'll get like 1,000 XP. But if other people find it, that 1,000 gets divided.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
it's a way to like have them not talk about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe
yes,
about it because they're being generous or whatever.
That's
but then
really smart. I do something similar for Easter. I literally have a golden egg that says I owe you $5, and I hide it impossibly in my house. And if they ever find it throughout the course of the year, they get $5. They still haven't found it yet.
Oh,
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
And honestly, like there was a really funny Twitter feed with Paul Yenny. He in his class, he did like a visible Easter egg, and he's like, it's right there and they won't say anything. And he's like, should I just blow it? And I'm like, no, just wait.
There's a payoff. Yeah.
If you have to, like, that's the hard part about Easter eggs is you can't give it away at all. You have to let them find it. And it finally paid off, but it took a long time for his students to find it.
Okay. So I'm a new teacher doing gamifying in my classroom. So point of clarification, in other things we've talked about, you said, I didn't start this till year 3 or year 4. Like, at what point did you start Easter eggs in your guys' games? Pretty immediately, or
I started right away.
I did too.
Okay.
Yeah, I started when I built out my what do you call it, Jedi handbook. I hid them in there.
Got it. Awesome.
And I put it on the flyer that the parents got on the day before, like when they pick up their schedules or whatever. I put one on the flyer that was like my syllabus kind of for the parents. There was like a QR code that they could scan. And I also use Arabesh. So on that, it's a weekly newsletter that I have, which still no student has discovered yet. I send this out to parents, and there's a quote in Arabesh, and I'm still waiting for them to translate it. Because last year I had students who were constantly looking for Arabesh stuff, and they would translate every single thing that they found because they figured out, there might be something hidden. This year, nobody has found it yet. So I'm hoping that they're still going to find it. But if not, they didn't find it. But it's fun.
So I had an Easter egg situation kind of bite me back a little bit. I did Easter eggs in my back to school night presentation with parents. And then when the presentation was over,
I saw that. Yeah.
They didn't want to leave. They were like wanting to hunt Easter eggs. I'm like, it's okay. Like if you find it at home, just send me an email, and your kid, because if they found it, then their kid could get something.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it's okay. Like, just send me a message. Like, I trust that you found it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that sounds really fun and great and engaging. Easter eggs, side quests, the whole bit. So we're really excited to even talk more. We got one more episode. At the end of this episode, you are going to see Fabian's virtual classroom tour of his gamified classroom, and we're looking forward to that. So that'll start right after this video, and then check out, where do they find us, Fabian?
Findingourtribe.net. Everything
there it is, findingourtribe.net. So we'll see you next time on our last episode, episode 9, coming up next week.
Exactly.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
He's not saying anything. Come on, say something. R2. Welcome. This is my classroom. So when you walk in, you can see there's like a bunch of posters for Star Wars. This is Endor. This is Tatooine. Then I have Hoth over there. I use those for like when I have decisions that need to get made, like kind of 4 corners. I use those as areas where they can mingle. Then here I have like, again, all themed. This is open growth mindset kind of stuff. Just to make it more Star Warsy. I have some Oculuses here because they were using them today. And yeah, so we played Space Team, which is an amazing game if you ever get a chance. And then here again, Star Wars theme. There's my dice roller that I showed in the podcast. Yeah, and you can see like back here, there's a resistance flag. I have some
I have a couple of other themes up here, or a couple of other things. So this one I really like because this is right from The Simpsons. Somebody sent me that, and then this is I'm a magician, so this is really cool. Alexander the Man Who Knows. If you know your magic, you know what that is. Then I have a little thing here where I have like a couple of books. I happen to have some Adrenaline Rush and Explore Like a Pirate books here that I'm trying to give the faculty here. My dice rollers. R2 is sitting there waiting. There's a drone that I'm not using anymore because it's broken, but it looks nice to just have that around here. Here's my box for my lightsaber. And yeah, then I have some decoration up here. It's the Millennium Falcon. Here's my Wall of Heroes that I mentioned on the podcast as well. This will be filled out hopefully this year for 2021, and it's all in Arabish. So it just says like name and then XP and which class it was, and then once the year's over, I'm going to put a picture of the person right next to here. And here are some board games that I like to use in class. This is the Crocodile Dentist that I talked about on the show. And some more here. Some item cards that I'm not using this year, but hopefully we'll be using again next year. Here. Oh, my battle axe that I can throw against the wall and it sticks, hopefully, for like, you know, like they ask a question, they answer a question, and then they throw it against the wall, and the more points they have, that adds to their overall points, XP or whatever. And yeah, so this is me sitting over here. We're standing, and that's my classroom. So hope you enjoy. Not as cool as Miss Jamie Halsey's, but this is my first year here, so there's going to be a lot of more Star Wars stuff coming.